We are part of the Fired Up Sports Network of shows. Please check out other Fired Up Sports Network podcasts like the P-Lot Pod, Water Cooler Talk, Bell Smashers, Philly Sports Love and Pain, Drunk on Broad, Beer Battered Sports, and the Fired Up Sports Show, which are available on all major podcasting hosting sites and social media. Also, check out Mark Ramos' Roundup on firedupsports.com, which breaks down the happenings going on with all your favorite local teams.
The Philadelphia Eagles are Super Bowl champions.
Swinging a miss, struck him out. The Philadelphia Phillies are 2008 World Champions of Baseball.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Flyers are going to win the Stanley Cup. The Flyers win the Stanley Cup for the lead. Yes!
Iverson, wow, what a fake off Daniels as he broke his ankles and got all the way to the cup.
Well, good evening. Don't adjust your televisions. We are normally a Saturday, Sunday morning broadcast, but we're Erica, because of some travel plans, we're gonna check in before things are unofficially official. But Philly's put a pretty emphatic stamp on securing that number. All right, I shouldn't say the number 2. Right, it's not 100%, but there's still a chance that they're not gonna play until the second round. So, but they do it in historical fashion. This team seems to have congealed, is transforming into whatever it really needs to be to get wins. And the quote from JT a couple weeks ago about the only thing that's really important is the wins. To look at Jalen Hurts and go, keep the main thing. If the main thing is getting wins and they're setting their rotation up exactly the way that they want it, it's a good time to be hitting at all cylinders right now.
Yeah, and last night was a great way to kind of look at that. Obviously hitting 8 home runs and seeing Sosa come back from the IL and and hit 3 all in the same game. It was really good to see. But what got lost in the offensive explosion was Jesus Luzardo twirled another gem.
Woo!
I mean, it's fine. I always like I'm weird. I like pitching. Sometimes actually I like watching pitching more than I like watching offense.
Eric, that's not weird.
Yeah,
when it's good, it's great.
Yeah, exactly. And that's and that's my favorite thing. Like, so obviously watching these guys, smash homers last night was a great time, but I'm also like, Luzardo's piling up strikeouts. I think I saw he's at like 216 on the season. I think it was Jack Fritz, I think it was, tweeted something today where if you took out those 2 back-to-back games, remember that game in like the end of May where he gave up 12 earned runs, and the next one he gave up like 8. You have like 20 earned runs in those 2 games. You take away those 2 games, his season ERA is like a 3.03 or something. So, really, there was kind of like that little bit of time right before, right end of May, beginning of June, where we were maybe hurt. So, are the innings going to start catching up to him? But he's looked really good since then. So, I think that gets lost in it. But obviously, the thing that killed this team the last 2 postseasons was the offense going dead at the wrong time. The pitching was not necessarily the bullpen could be a little iffy both times, but the starting pitching was the problem. But the offense, I would love to see this offense go into October with this type of momentum.
I mean, listen, to touch on something that you were just mentioned, the strikeouts, right? Christopher Sanchez ends the regular season with 204 strikeouts. Jesus Luzardo ends it with 206. And Zach Wheeler, who was injured, and I don't remember do you remember the day, the time frame? It's about 6-8 weeks ago ish.
Yeah, it was so Turner and Bohm went on, I think, on the 7th of September, and he was what, about a week or so before that. So he was like the end of August, I would
Yeah.
say.
Okay. At that point, he had already amassed 195 strikeouts.
It was close.
Like, if he stays healthy, this team is the first team in Major League Baseball history to have 200 strikeout pitchers in the same season. It's just it's incredible to watch. It's you look at the way that they are rolling, man. It is just, it's something. And you're right. In a game last night where the home runs get all the glory, right? Because chicks dig the long ball. And it was exciting because some of those, right, the Schwarber home run, his second was correct me if I'm wrong, was the longest of his of this season.
Yeah.
Stotts one that goes to the to the opposing team's bullpen is his longest of the season. They are just like they are just hitting the ball all over the place, and you can see that on some nights it doesn't, like on nights where they can just explode, and you get a guy who's coming off, who hasn't played in 12 games, who is who's getting the first two at bats are outs, and you're getting him to get 3 home runs at a time where he's coming off not playing for 12 straight games. It's just incredible to watch. And he's the type of guy that can turn a series, and we saw that a couple years ago in that series in St. Louis, where you know he is just a guy who crushes left-handed pitching. So, like, it wouldn't surprise me if there's a left-hander to start, that they figure out a way to get him in the lineup. Not knowing what the Turner's taking BP the other day, right? He's taking ground balls. I can only imagine that he's probably doing anything and everything he can to get back on the field. But talk about Schwarber for a little bit, because man, he is what a special season, and in a season where he bets on himself, is now with 4 games left, is within earshot of Ryan Howard's 58. Just crazy, right? The stat that I saw, he's the 4th player in Major League Baseball history with 55 plus home runs, 100 plus walks, and 10 plus stolen bases in a season.
I love the stolen bases there. Let's go, Kyle.
Right? Schwarber, Aaron Judge, Barry Bonds, and Babe Ruth.
Decent company.
not bad company.
He's been since he's come to Philly. I mean, I feel like every season, we knew about the power, right? The power was going to be there, but I just feel like he's gotten better every single year that he's been here so far. And this is obviously the most special year offensively. From he's getting on base in a multitude of ways, right? He's drawing walks, he's getting base hits, but obviously the home runs are what you want to see from Kyle Schwarber. And when he gets a hold of one, like that one last night, like it is a majestic thing to watch when you just know off the bat how far that thing's going. And I just love to see where it's going to land. So I would actually really, as much as I loved Ryan Howard and still, appreciate everything Ryan Howard did, it's kind of cool to see records be broken. And I would, if someone's going to do it, I would like to see Kyle Schwarber do it. It sounds like Thompson's going to give him the shot. It sounds like they're going to play him. I mean, you can't rest everybody, and he's in a DH role, so it's not like you're really risking a ton of injury by playing him. So let him try it.
Yeah, I mean, listen, if there's anybody from this team that that you want to stay into a regular routine, it's him, because he's not used to the off days with being the can't even say the primary. He is the only DH that this team uses outside of a handful of games during the season. there's no you're not asking him to play left field so that you can keep his at bat in the lineup and place like you just let him DH. You let him keep that normal regular routine because that's a guy that at the top of this lineup you can ride through and kind of hit your wagons on a playoff run. Anything that you're looking for in these last handful of games with the Twins? I know they're playing the Marlins right now.
JT's hands look good. He just threw out a guy stealing second. So
I saw.
I'm not worried about the hand.
No, not at all. That was scary for a hot minute because that
was
as someone who has played that position at the college level. It's interesting to see I always remember, the instruction of tucking your hand behind your back. And it's interesting. I didn't notice it, but as you know, I'm going back and watching the highlights, and his hand is just. Dangling, it just sits out there all the time. So,
yeah.
But good to see that he's kind of in that mode of being able to be, up and ready to go.
Yeah, no, that would be huge. That would be a huge loss. And I mean, Marchand is actually the couple games where we missed JT. Just giving that hand some rest. Like Marchand's actually been producing more than I thought he would. Just given that he doesn't really play a lot. But obviously JT's bat, the way he's been, and just his handling of the pitching staff and his defense back there, he still has it, and it would be a huge loss. I was very happy and very relieved that next morning when I saw the X-rays were negative because
oh my god,
that was something I was sweating out a little bit. But yeah, I mean, you mentioned going into this Twin series, like what we're looking for. I just really want to see consistency. Like I don't. I know they're going to rest guys. Like Bryce just got hit. I don't know if he was. They said he was sick. I don't know if he was sick or if he was just getting a couple days as a breather. Obviously, rotate. Get some guys some rest. But they're going to have rest during that wild card series. And we've said. I think we said this last time we were on. Yeah. How baseball is just such a game of momentum. And I'm not really. I don't buy into the whole. Don't try to get the bye because you're going to lose it. But I do think like playing consistently and playing meaningful games, or at least acting like games are meaningful, up through that point, it does matter because you can't really you can't simulate a playoff atmosphere. You can't simulate the pace. You can't simulate the pitching. So I really think it's just like staying consistent. Like don't ease up. Based on the competition, and don't just walk into the postseason. I still want to see some firepower because, we just last year's postseason I think is just going to linger in my head for a long time because that was like every single at bat. I'm like I have zero confidence that anyone is going to do anything.
Eric, it was the way that I felt going into that game. And you tell me if you kind of feel the same way. I felt the same way going into that Eagles playoff game against the Bucks when they started the season so hot, and they're 10 and 11 and 1, and then they lose 7 of 8, and there was absolutely no confidence that anything was going to happen in Tampa, and they go down and they get the doors blown off. It kind of felt very similar because it's like you could tell that something was just amiss. There was something that wasn't there. That they just could not overcome. There was some kind of mental hurdle that was happening. And then you saw it in Game 1 last year when Wheeler goes out and deals, and the bullpen goes out and blows it. And you're set up so much better going into this playoffs than you ever were last year, primarily from what you're getting from that rotation. Now, we've talked before, but like the playoff, the way that they're setting up the rotation, they're just going to go lefty, 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 and I think that's the smart move. You throw your best guys, your 3 best guys. What are your thoughts on how they set the rotation up? Because I have a certain feeling based on playing at home versus who do I want to start on the road? What are your thoughts?
I mean, it's Sanchez is going to be one, and I think you go with it with your hottest hands, right? It's the postseason. You can't really play games like hoping that something good is going to go your way. Now I know like some of these guys have you were mentioning, their splits, their home and road splits are pretty different. Like I think even Sanchez has very drastic home and road splits. But the rate this guy's been pitching and the fact that the nice thing is they at least have at least one home series where they have the home field advantage. So
Yeah.
I think you go with the three lefties. And if for some reason something happens and you need Nola to step in and you need a righty to start, then go for it. But I think right now, I mean, the way Sanchez, Luzardo, and Ranger are pitching, it's really hard to take the ball out of their hands because they are not just giving you a chance to win every game, like they are dealing every single game.
Yeah, I think for me, like I think the way that I like Sanchez and Luzardo at home, because I like the cool, calm, collected, savvy guy who's been there, done that in Ranger Suarez. To if it's going to set up the way that it's set up right now, right, they're going to face either the Mets or Dodgers.
Dodgers, right?
So either one, right? We know that the Mets have looked horrifically bad over the course of the last 6 to 8 weeks. But leave it to MLB playoffs for them to figure out something and figure out how to take a series. Because in that second round, I still can't get over the fact that divisional round is a 5-game series. And in a 5-game series, anything can happen. You need a handful of batters to go cold for the lineup to completely turn, not be able to score runs, and now you're looking at you could be looking at an 0-2 hole really quickly, and for whatever reason, I want Ranger Suarez, whether it's in New York, whether it's in LA, whatever it is. I think that going into that game 3, I want him to have that opportunity to be able to start that game. But then I look at the way that they have the back end of their bullpen. You're going to have guys like Aaron Nola in the pen. You're going to have a guy that's pitching tonight in Walker Buehler, who's got a ton of. We saw him in that game in Arizona where he, the first 15, 16 pitches were all strikes. You can see that later on, as the appearance started to wear on, right? In that, I think it was in the 3rd inning that he pitched or the 4th inning that he pitched where things started to kind of get, you saw the ball strike ratio kind of even out a little bit.
Right.
But if he's a guy that can go in and give you 2 innings, like you don't need him to give you 4 in a playoff series. So I like the way that the guys that they've brought in, those mid-season additions, the Robertsons, the Buehlers, the Harrison Bader, like those guys have been so impactful to this team.
Yeah, I mean, since the trade deadline, they have an over 6. I forget the exact number, but they have an over 600 winning percentage, which is what's so drastically different about 2024 to this year. But I really wonder what it looks like if they don't make those moves. Right? It seems like they pushed all the right buttons. Now I know Robertson. I think he's given up a run in like 4 of his last 5. I'm not super concerned. I mean, he's a vet, and like the point you just made, you're getting other arms from the rotation that are not going to be needed in the bullpen. Yeah. So, it kind of lengthens the bullpen a little bit. But I still have utmost faith in Duran.
So do you mind if we pause there? I wanted to get your thoughts on Duran because Duran has had a couple of outings in the last couple of appearances where, it seems like there's a couple of the early blown saves where you can tell they're just kind of throwing a bat out there just to get the ball in play. And then there's the other at bat in the game against the Marlins that he blows. That guy crushes it and catches up with the fastball. And my only concern with that is that I want to see him utilize the off-speed stuff a little bit more. I know that he's got 103. I know that he's got 102. I know that he's got that gas. But what we've seen is that even at that speed, guys are still able to catch up with it. And that at bat in particular, he was up 0-2. Like you had pitches to waste. Like you could throw something off speed in the dirt and maybe he swings at it, maybe he doesn't. But you can do that to get him off and then come back with 102. Like, is there? I'm trying to phrase this in a way where there's a question in there, but like, do you feel like there's any hesitancy? I know that there's not, but like, from a fan level, are there tendencies to be hesitant?
I don't think so. I love his stuff so much. I think honestly, the knuckle curve is kind of a newish pitch for him, and I think he got really confident in that. Then I think he was almost overthrowing that, gave up some big hits using that, and now he's going back fastball heavy. So it's really like just finding that balance of what works, because his fastball, it hits 103, but major league hitters, just knowing what velocity is coming in, are they going to catch up to it all the time? No, but like you can see, even a team like the Marlins, who don't have the highest power offense in baseball, are going to eventually catch up to some. The splitter is really, really good too. But having that knuckle curve kind of as the that huge speed kind of changer thing for him to really keep hitters off balance is really big. And I think it's really right now, it's like, it's almost like what's the word I'm trying to use? Like, he seems like unsure of his pitch selection. Okay. And I maybe like, I don't know if it's like not, I don't think it's a confidence thing, but I think he's kind of like, I think they're still kind of figuring out like what works best, how to best implement that knuckle curve off of the fastball. But I mean, the knuckle curve, when it's on, looks really good, and everything he has just looks so good.
It's incredible.
Every pitch he has is honestly, I'm just like, there's something about every single pitch where I'm just like, wow, this is very impressive. I think it would actually be really fun to, like if the Phillies did like an auction where you could just like not even swing a bat, just stand in there, pretend you're squaring up against one of these pitchers, especially Duran. I would love to stand in the box and see how long it takes me to bail when I see one of those things coming in at 103, or even a high splitter at 99. Like,
Eric, I would settle for like a simulation, just to see and feel. I think it would give a lot of fans a little bit of a perspective about like when you see guys striking out with those pitches, and it's like, it's one thing to sit at home and be like, what are you doing? Why are you swinging? It's another thing to be standing there and the ball looks like it's about to hit you, and then it ends in the opposite batter's box. But in the meantime, it's crossed over and passed through the strike zone. Like it's wild. It's wild to see. But like, I would take one of those like pitch simulations just to see and get the feel. But that would be something.
It would be terrifying, but it would be fun.
Yeah. So like, and here's the other thing that I think people need to remember: when this team is in the playoffs and the guys that are coming out of the bullpen, you're only going to see a handful of guys.
Right.
Like you're going to see probably like there's going to be spots for Walker Buehler. You're going to see Duran close the game. You're going to see Kerkering in the late innings. You're not going to see Max Lazar.
I don't even want Lazar to touch the postseason roster.
No, like you're not going to see.
He probably won't. But.
No, but like you're not going to see Tim Meza. Aaron Nola is going to be a guy that's probably going to, you're not going to need a fourth starter in this first round. So it wouldn't surprise me if he's a guy that they bring out for an inning or two or three. David Robertson, Strom. Like, you're not going to see Taiwan Walker. You're not going to see Lou Trevino. Like, those guys that sometimes at the back end of these games that are giving up these runs, those are guys that in a playoff series are either A, not going to be on the roster, or B, if you see them, something wild has already happened. Either they're
Right.
up 10 or they're down 10.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And that's the thing. Like, the postseason is so different than the regular season. I mean, starters have such a short leash, and then you have the bullpen and you utilize the bullpen completely differently. Like, I think there's a chance that in a playoff game, if someone's struggling to get, in the eighth inning, I wouldn't be surprised if they bring in Duran to get, an inning and a third or an inning and 2/3 save. Honestly, you just have to play to win every single game, and you have to play the best matchup for every single pitch, because as we've seen, like, the craziest things can happen that can completely change the dynamic of a series. So you really can't, you can't let up at all. And it's, I mean, 2023, I think, is probably one of the most heartbreaking postseasons, just because of the talent they had. Like, they were up, and then they're coming back to Philadelphia, and they don't win either game. And it's just like, you can see just how quick things can switch, even in the 2022 World Series, right? They had a lead, and things happen, and things change. So, managing the bullpen is really, really. It's not that I'm saying it's not important in the regular season, but pushing the right buttons, getting the right matchups, and knowing exactly which guy can be used in each situation is going to matter exponentially more.
Oh, and listen, that's Eric. You're opening up some old wounds.
I keep doing that. I think there's something wrong with me.
But listen, that diamond. Listen, the phrase "you got to bleed to know bliss," right? You got to have. Sometimes you got to open those wounds back up, to kind of go over some of the details, right? The fact that, like, in the position that they were in that series, and how things flipped, and how fast they flipped, and how fast the Diamondbacks flipped their game plan to, essentially play backwards. I mean, Torey Lovullo, really smart, savvy baseball, move there, where he's getting the opportunity to realize that they can flip it around a little bit. He made the adjustments and Rob Thompson didn't, and that ended up costing them when they came back home. It literally felt like their bats had evaporated. Some of those at bats in games 6 and 7 at home against the Diamondbacks were just some of the worst at bats of the entire season. And the shame of it is that the way that it's set up on the other side with Texas, that was a World Series that was, they had it like just on the other side of their hand. And they needed like 5 or 6 hits, and they probably win one of those 2 games. And it just never happened. But I think for me, going into the way that this playoff is really matching up, I'm curious to see how that last wild card. What's your thought on that last wild card spot?
Does anyone want it? It's like every time one team loses, so does everyone else. So, it's obviously, I detest the Mets just because of them, being division rivals and everything about them.
Yep.
But then again, the Diamondbacks are right there too, and I don't think the Diamondbacks deserve to be a playoff team, and that's where I'm. Okay. I didn't think they really even did in 2023, but obviously they beat us. But like, they had a negative run differential. Their rotation and offense was nowhere near what Philadelphia's was. But I digress. The Reds, I don't think are really, I don't think any of those teams. The Mets are by far on paper the best team that have a shot at that last wild card spot.
Yeah,
but they're doing what they like to do and making it making it really tough for themselves to get in right now. I don't know if they ended up coming back and winning that game, but did you see the other night the play Soto made or did not make in right field?
It was so hilarious.
And I'm like,
he's going back, fading towards, correct me if I'm wrong, fading towards center field, and the ball, he goes to put his glove up, and the ball literally just goes right over his.
I'm like, where was he looking? And it's like, if I was a Mets fan, and I think some of them are frustrated, but like, if I was a Mets fan paying this guy, and he's had a good season, don't get me wrong.
He
but
has.
Like, the dumb stuff he does, I'm just like, you paying this guy $700 million to look like that in a playoff race is so embarrassing, but it's also such a Mets thing to do. So I don't know. I think the Mets ultimately do walk away and come in and face the Dodgers in the wild card. Yeah. But it's so funny because the Reds keep getting their opportunities, but they've lost 2 now in a row to the Pirates, and it's like, okay, you're like, this is your chance to capitalize, and you're just not doing it. So they don't deserve it either. So I really think
with as much as they've invested in their salary, I would love to see the Mets not make it.
Yes.
That would be right with the moves that they made in the offseason, with the billions of dollars that they invested in players, with the umpteenth amount of assets that they got rid of at the trade deadline to acquire, 5, 6, 7 guys in their bullpen. And, I would love nothing more than to have them miss it by like 1 game. That would be,
especially on Sunday.
Like, and if they lost it in some kind of like epic fashion, where like they already knew that, if they already knew that Cincinnati took care of business and all they had to do was just finish the game, and they give up like 9 runs in the 9th to lose the game, like that, like just something like that. I'm just like, I'm here for it all. But Cincinnati's a pesky team. Cincinnati's a team that, I think either one of them, New York's the team that's going to give the Dodgers the most trouble, I feel like. But the way that the Dodgers rotation has been kind of iffy and injury all year long, like they've just
it has been, yeah.
But the way that their rotation is going to set up, right? You're going to see them do some similar things that the Phillies are going to do. Right, some of those guys that are normally starters are going to be guys that are going to go into the bullpen. I think you're setting up for an NLDS with the Dodgers.
Yeah, I think so too. Just because the way the Mets are kind of limping in, the only hope that any team has going against the Dodgers is knocking out the starter early. Now, their bullpen's going to get strengthened a little bit, like you said, because especially in a 5-game series. But Snell doesn't usually go long, so I could see that being like maybe like a potential piggyback situation. Carrying 4 starters and then bringing someone in to kind of piggyback off of him. But again, just like the Phillies, it's going to be a lengthened bullpen. So, but the thing is, like the guys who are just self-destructing right now in their bullpen are the guys that they went out and, just like the Mets, like paid all this money for in Tanner Scott, Kirby Yates, like those guys. I just feel like every time I check like Twitter the next morning after a Dodgers game, Tanner Scott has blown another save. Like it's just like it's like true. how's he still doing this? But again, there's so many other components of that team that are scary, and a run-in with the Dodgers. That's one of those things where if you're relying on Chris Sanchez to go out and give you a quality start, and something goes wrong and he doesn't have his best stuff that day, that's one of those games where that's all it takes to flip a series around. I think on paper, I like where the Phillies are. I think they stack up great against the Dodgers right now because I think they win. If you're looking at, I think rotation-wise, very, very close. Offense, pretty close. Bullpen, I think you give a little bit of an edge to the Phillies. So I think they stack up pretty well, but all it takes, like we said, is like that one thing to go awry, and that could completely change a series. And what you don't want to do is give a team like the Dodgers any sort of momentum.
No. You don't want to give them much at all.
No.
What about the other side of the NL bracket? Right, you got the Brewers that finished with the best record in Major League Baseball. You got the
Mhm.
Phillies that are probably going to finish with the second best record. And then they're going to face the winner of the Cubs Padres, which is also a really, really great matchup. And you're going to have a lot of strength on strength. There's a lot of guys that are. I think the fact that there's a huge advantage for Chicago, and the fact that series is going to start off at home.
Mhm. Yeah, that's a really interesting series because I feel like both teams can have spurts of looking really good and spurts of looking really bad. I think like if you look at it on paper, I think the idea of I think the Cubs having home field at Wrigley is a massive advantage. But from a rotation standpoint, I think I almost like the Padres, excuse me, a little bit better.
Okay.
And their bullpen is really good. I think bats, it's pretty much a toss up. Now I saw Cade Horton, the Cubs starter. He's like probably going to win NL Rookie of the Year.
Right.
He left his last start early, which I think is a little alarming for Chicago if you're a Cubs fan because he's been awesome this year. So that one's going to be a really interesting series. I could totally see that going, the full 5 games, and seeing that in pretty dramatic fashion. So that would be a fun one to watch. But honestly, I think either of those teams could take it to Milwaukee too. Like, especially, the Cubs play Milwaukee so often. It's an NL
Yep.
Central matchup, and you play those teams so much. I just feel like anything can really happen. So that would be a really I like hoping that we would get to see like Cubs Brewers, NL
Mhm.
DS, yeah.
NLDS, yeah. But like I look at this is one of the issues that I have with Major League Baseball, right? That you play an entire 182 games, and the first round is a 3-game series. Like, and those that like it's almost worse than the single wild card play-in game.
Yeah, remember
Like,
that?
oh god, that was like it. Literally, you play 182 games to play one, and then one
And
game decides it all.
And that's also
That,
tough because if you're playing on Sunday to get into that game, you use your ace, the other team doesn't, you're already set up for failure. Like there was a lot of flaws to that whole
yeah,
system.
but like I think there's a very easy solution to this. This first round is 5 games, and then 7, 7, and 7, and if it takes you into November, oh well,
More
um,
baseball.
more baseball. But I think again, when we say anything can turn into a in a 5-game series, a 3-game series, it's literally it is like all or nothing from the jump. And the fact that you're going to play all 3 of those games all at all at the one location is a huge advantage for LA and Chicago.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Now on the other side, you've got Blue Jays, Mariners that are at this point going to get the bye, right? And then as it sits right now, you're going to have an AL East matchup and an AL Central matchup. In that you're going to have Detroit and Cleveland, and talk about Cleveland for a second, right? Because Cleveland, they were dead and buried, 15 games out,
Yeah.
and and completely turned that around. And then you've got the Yankees playing a lot better as of late, and they're going to match up with the Red Sox.
I think it's funny because the AL usually, I feel like the disparity in talent with teams, it's like usually the AL is usually the superior league, I think, but this year it's crazy how it has shifted. But yeah, those will both be really fun series. I have been watching all of these Tigers Guardians games because of just seeing what like the Tigers just in a complete free fall and the Guardians on a complete heater. I can't believe how much that's actually shifted. It's been actually really interesting to watch, and I can't even imagine being a Detroit Tigers fan right now.
No, like, and you know, and then there's I don't know if concern is the right word, but there's some there's some cautious optimism about Scooble
Mhm.
going into the playoffs with health scare, health concern. There's some after a year that he's had that has been extremely talented, for him to have some cautious optimism going into the playoffs is hard. And just like we're seeing with the Phillies, and you're seeing with the Met, like the hot team is good is the team that nobody wants to run into. And when teams get cold, they go cold. And it's interesting to see both like the Tigers and Mets both kind of fall off kind of simultaneously. Um, but I think out of all of those teams, which one of those which one of those teams do you think gives the Phillies the best run at a World Series?
NL, I do think I as much as I want to say the Brewers just because of the season they had, I still think it's the Dodgers. I just think the talent on that roster gives them a tough time. The AL, I'm not really terrified of any of them. The only I guess like just because of the scenarios you have to go and playing on the road, I feel like going and playing in Boston or New York could get a little tricky. And I feel like Yankee Stadium, with how short that porch is, like, weather's going to be getting a little colder, so it won't be carrying as
Mm-hmm.
much. But I mean, you see in Yankee Stadium, guys hit a fly ball in most stadiums, and it somehow gets out in right field there. So like,
Yep.
that's one of those things where something else could just shift. So I think NL, I think we're going to. I think the Phillies play the Dodgers. And I think they have a shot, but I think it's going to be I think it could be a drawn out series.
Yeah.
The rest of the NL does not like put a lot of fear into me. The Brewers have a lot of guys with not much experience in the postseason. Brandon
Yep.
Woodruff just got hurt again. I don't know what his outlook is in terms of coming back. But he
Yeah.
got hurt. Like he was put on the IL like right at the end of the regular season. So I don't know what his deal is. And they're good. Don't get me wrong, but I
Right.
just think the experience that the Phillies have, and on paper, they're the better team. So they're not like super scared of me. I think if the Phillies can get past the Dodgers in the division series, barring a cold spell from the bats, going to the rest of the NL, then kind of
Yeah.
evens out.
For me, the sneaky team that I'm keeping my eye on is the Cubs.
Yeah.
Cubs can be like sneaky good. They've got a rotation that when they play at home, I think that would be a huge advantage for the Phillies, having home field advantage
Mhm.
against. You're going to have home field advantage in the first round that they in that divisional round, but in that second round, like if it's anybody but the Brewers, you're going to have home
Milwaukee.
field advantage too.
Right.
So like, I look at this and I go, that's a team that I'm keeping my eye on. Eric, I'm going to rip off. I don't know how you feel, but I'm going to rip off another old Band-Aid with a team in the AL. I want to get our lick back from the Blue Jays.
Yeah. Have Schwarber hit a walk-off home run
I
against
want
them.
to.
Get a little taste.
Eric, I remember being 13 and being in tears, and like it was like I was crushed. I would love nothing more because the other teams in the AL don't really do a whole lot for me. They don't really have the Phillies don't really have a playoff history with any of the other teams that are in the playoffs this year.
09 Yankees still piss me off.
Yeah,
They were a
yeah,
good team, but I just remember
yeah,
like I just remember being like after how good that team was, how good the Phillies were, and they had
yeah,
their chances. That still
yeah.
pissed me off a little bit too. So
Yeah, you know what? You're not wrong. You're not wrong. But something about seeing Toronto and having the opportunity to be able to get that lick back would be that would be epic. I would love nothing more than to match up with them in a World Series and be able to, avenge Mitch Williams and Joe Carter and rewrite that chapter of history.
It would be kind of fun to give them a give them a little payback. What I think would be boring would be like a Phillies Guardians World Series. Like, give me some
Phillies Mariners.
Yeah, I mean the Mariners are actually kind of fun to watch, but
they are. But
it doesn't have the same juice.
At home.
Yeah, exactly. So I like the track record there, but there's something about just like with some of these big market teams that the playoff atmosphere is just so much better. Like, we know what it is in Philly, but Boston and New York could be the same way. Chicago is crazy. Now, obviously, I'm going back to the NL here. Dodger Stadium, is for some reason, they do get people out for the playoffs. So it's like, it would be really fun to see honestly, I just want the Phillies to go back to the World Series at this point. I don't really care who they play, but I just want to see these guys go down Broad Street so we can stop having the whole what's the word? I guess like the whole storyline of this team chokes in the postseason.
Yeah.
Like, make this the year where you don't choke, and let's just like get some 2022. There were so many like heroic moments like that the game in the wild card game in St. Louis when Bohm gets hit by the pitch and then Segura's singles and Sosa's single. Like, it's just like there's so many things that happen where it's just like you're getting stuff from these guys that you don't really think about all the time. Like, you go back to that postseason and the Hoskins bat slam and Bedlam at the bank from Harper are like the two big things that everyone thinks about. But there's so many other parts to that postseason that were like also critically important. So it's just like that's what I want to see this postseason. Like, give me contributions from everyone. Like, let me see Otto Kemp have a big hit in the NLDS somewhere.
You get a Harrison Bader, triple in the gap that clears the bases, right? You get a Max Kepler, home run into the second deck. You see you see Castellanos, right? Plant one on the scoreboard. Like, you just like
after swinging a ball in the dirt. Yeah, it'd be great.
Oh God. Well, listen, Eric, before we get out, right, the ABS system gets approved for next season. Some of the rules, right, that each team will get 2 challenges. They keep them if they're successful. They can be initiated by the pitcher, catcher, batter. But the request has to come right after the pitch. No help from the dugout, which we all know is like, we'll see how that plays out, right? It's not
right.
I think this can only, if it's utilized the way that it's been utilized in other levels of baseball, I feel like this only can help improve the game.
Yeah.
If it's done efficiently.
Yeah. And I mean, so far what we've seen, it is like, I mean, it takes an extra, maybe 7 seconds if you have like a really close pitch. I mean, it's so fast. Like, there's times that I feel like I'm still waiting, like on what I would normally be waiting for the next pitch to be thrown. I like looked at my phone for a minute and they already made the call. So I think it helps in a lot of different ways, right? It holds the umpires accountable, which is something that we've been big proponents of for a long time now. And it gives kind of a way of improving accuracy without adding time to the game. So you're not really worried about, like, especially with the amount of challenges you get, there's not really a way that you're going to increase the time of a game by any more than a minute and a half. Like, if you use that many challenges. So it shouldn't change anything. The only person I've still heard say anything negative about this, at least publicly anyway, is Walker Buehler. I don't know if you heard his comments about it a couple weeks ago. He was saying that he likes the human element of the game, and he feels that certain guys should get calls that maybe other guys don't. He was referring to like veterans getting calls that maybe a rookie doesn't get. He said when he came up, his strike zone was kind of squeezed, whereas a guy like Kershaw might be getting those calls. And I get there is a point to that, but at the same time, like, I'm sorry, but there's some of these guys who are coming up and pitching great right away. Like, why are they getting punished just for being a rookie? Like, I know baseball has a lot of like those old school like unwritten rules, and I've never been in a major league clubhouse, so obviously that's why I'm probably on the outside looking in here. But yeah, it was kind of interesting to hear. But to me, if that's like the biggest thing that you're kind of upset about that,
right?
That doesn't really. I'm still in favor of it.
Yep. Yeah, I'm right there with you. Well, listen, Eric, the next time we hop on, we're going to be breaking down playoff baseball. So
Red October.
Red October. It's so good to have it back. So good to have it back, and it feels like we've gotten back to this point, and it's almost like we had the opportunity to fast forward through the season, but we really didn't. There's been some really cool, epic moments. We still got the handful of games that they'll play where they're gonna they'll end the season with the Twins, and then it's simulation games until Saturday, October 4th, whenever they face the winner of the 3-game series between we'll just say the number 6 seed and the Dodgers. So,
and the Dodgers, right?
Listen, I feel like there's only one way to go out, Eric.
Hey, listen to this guy. Tell me how you're feeling here. You're screaming.
I am stoked, baby.
You're screaming like it's still the game going on.
We're talking about the fightings here. The fightings. Said.
Said, Mike.